there. Welcome to Saturday night. Sorry we got us started a little bit late. That's my fault. The other gentlemen want you to know that they were here on time. That if you have any complaints, it's all on me. I accept full responsibility. Anyway, last week we talked about probably the most evil president in American history. This week, we wanted to maybe cleanse the palate a little bit and talk about maybe the one of the best presidents we've ever had, and somebody that's extremely underrated, and that is Silent Cal, the coolest president. And he literally, that was literally a slogan. Stay cool with Coolidge. And it's funny, their campaign headquarters were out of ice cream parlors, so it's kind of it's pretty clever. Anyway, so let me bring on the usual suspects. So we're going to be down one. Abby decided that his father is more important than this show. I mean, come on now. Anyway, of course I'm joking. Anyway, let me bring on the furry one.
Sir, nobody worries about upsetting a droid.
That's because a droid don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose. Wookiees are known to do that.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
It's hot.
Yeah. I imagine so. I haven't had a chance to remind you lately, so.
To live in a desert. And hey, you know what? My town was so fortunate enough that and so popular that the No Kings bullshit rally is in the middle of town right now, and it's 110 degrees, and there's no shade trees. Awesome! I hope they catch sun cancer.
Yeah. Considering they're like assassinating people now, evidently.
I know. Oh my God, what a nutcase is those.
Anyway, before we go down that rabbit hole,
bring on our friend from
bring
overseas.
on this guy.
If it's not Scottish, just clap!
Hello.
Cruel, welcome.
All of that lovely talk of weather just reminded me of the fact I got soaked this afternoon. Thank you.
It's raining in Scotland? No.
No. It's not raining now. But when I decided to go out, it was raining. See, that's how it works here.
There you go.
Yeah, by about 7 o'clock.
Hey, Craig.
By about 7 o'clock, when I wasn't going anywhere, it was like, oh, let's dry up. Oh, thank you.
There you go. Mother Nature actually probably has it in for you then.
Yes. Clearly.
Yeah, pretty much the whole British Isles. Anyway. Okay, so we are going to talk about yet another president. I think today's going to be a little bit more pleasant than last president we covered.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, he was just there was just like one president, and then there was Harding, and then it was Calvin Coolidge. He was vice president to Harding, and then he had the temerity to die in office, and kind of left Calvin holding the bag.
Pretty
so he
much
was the 30th president. Yeah. Right. Yep. So anyway, so a little bit. So can you guys think of another president that's as underrated? Do you have any other candidates?
I don't think so. I mean, I didn't know who.
I don't know.
I didn't know who this guy was. I'll be honest. So
there you go. See. See.
There you go.
That makes the point. Okay. So I didn't know this until I started looking into Mr. Coolidge here, Calvin Coolidge. Sorry. Calvin. Did I say Calvage? I said Calvage.
Calvage.
Right? Yeah.
Calvage, you're creating a new language.
I'm creating new words now. There you go. Well, this particular president, basically, he's Reagan, Ronald Reagan, pretty decent president in his own right, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had a really big economic boom during the 80s. And guess which president he commissioned to have on his wall in the Oval Office? Anyone?
Silent cow.
Silent cow. Yes. And so he basically he kind of fashioned his physical policy after Mr. Coolidge, and then you know what happened when Calvin was in office. Anybody remember what happened in the 20s? What that was called?
The Roaring Twenties.
The Roaring Twenties.
He cut taxes and he cut government spending. He cut government, the size of government.
Yep.
I mean, imagine a president that wants to lower taxes so Americans don't have to work too hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Wow.
Imagine that, eh?
Yep.
Well, and why is this why is this affecting us today? Because the biggest like fan of Ronald Reagan's policies happens to be Donald Trump.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. Sound familiar, right? Okay, so Trump is trying to ape Ronald Reagan, and Ronald Reagan was trying to ape Calvin Coolidge.
Mm-hmm.
And so, basically, the economic upturn that Calvin Coolidge oversaw is similar. The next biggest one we had was under Reagan,
right?
And so, when Reagan started, cutting policies and making a smaller government, what did Reagan say? What's the 5 worst words in the English language?
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
That's true, though.
Exactly. Well, Calvin Coolidge had a similar statement that he made. It's basically the business of America is business.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that. I've heard those words. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. He had a lot of little pithy sayings like that. He was I did have like his hold on. I had some of his quotes pulled up, but we'll see some.
Is that one when he was governor of Massachusetts and Boston police went on strike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've actually got a clip of that. I've actually got a clip of that. So glad you brought it up. Let me play that one quick. Come on. If StreamYards will let me.
Good old StreamYards.
Okay, this might help. Hold on one second.
They have emotional issues sometimes, good old StreamYards.
Yeah. I guess so. Get over it, StreamYards. Play the damn clip.
Okay.
StreamYard.
All right. This might help. I had an active tab open, which I shut down. This might help a little bit. Might help us a little bit. All right. Okay. So up to this point, Calvin Coolidge, he had kind of worked his way up in government. He didn't start at the top. He kind of went from, his father was pretty much an everything guy in this little small community called Plymouth Gulch, and I think it's Plymouth. I think it's Gulch. It might be Notch, or it's Plymouth Notch, I think is the name of it. But one of the things that he was involved in, of the many things, he was a store owner, he was an alderman, he was every position you can think of, his dad had it, and he also was a notary public, which will come in handy later. But one of the things he did was he collected taxes, and so Calvin got a good eyeball of what it meant to for people to give their hard-earned money over to you to take to the government.
Yeah.
So he was kind of a middleman, and that made a deep impression on him. that what taxes actually are is taken from working people and given to the government. And so that kind of came in. It was pretty important later. But anyway, so well, basically, he worked his way up. He was a lawyer who specialized in immigrants, legal immigrants that came in and things that were affecting them, and he kind of specialized in that. And he got a lot of respect, and he started moving his way up, and eventually he became the governor of Massachusetts. And while he's the governor of Massachusetts, he had a lot of challenges. Let me play this clip right quick.
Another demographic change in the early 20th century is a very, very large influx of immigrants, particularly from Southern Europe. And this also touches off a reaction in the 1920s. And another tension that occurs in the 1920s, of course, is the resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan. This Klan is fueled by notions of Protestant, native-born white supremacy, and it targets African Americans, but also immigrants, Catholics, and Jews.
Farmers struggled, workers struggled, businesses were struggling. Newspapers spoke of a capital strike, which is a way of saying businesses felt so uncertain about the future, they weren't investing in the future. So income earners were wondering, can they move up the ladder? Can they earn more? Something that cost $1 before the war now might cost $1.10, $1.30, $1.50, and wages weren't keeping up, and state and local governments were the brunt of the anger of people who felt they were falling behind and didn't understand why.
In the summer of 1919, as another election was closing in, Coolidge sensed a strike was coming from a group that were his loyal supporters, the police of Boston. The policemen were overworked and underpaid. Conditions weren't great. In fact, rats were chewing on the leather helmets in their storeroom. But the police contract did not allow strikes.
The police knew that a police strike wouldn't be a quiet strike for Boston. And they knew Coolidge didn't want that so close to an election in his city, Boston. So they made a wager that Coolidge would conciliate, and they walked out in early September, breaking their contract. Coolidge could sense this coming, and he gave a wonderful speech in early September about the importance of the rule of law, going back to the days of Shays' Rebellion. And he quotes a farmer saying, well, rules aren't always perfect, but sometimes they're better than nothing.
And Coolidge did bring out the National Guard to break the strike and did not rehire any of the police officers.
It was a terrible situation. And finally, Coolidge sends a telegram to Sam Gompers, the labor leader, saying, there is no right to strike against the public safety by anybody, anywhere, anytime. He writes to his family about it. Well, this may be it. I may not be elected again as governor. This is a serious decision. It's not going to be popular. In these days after the strike, Coolidge was thinking about Massachusetts. It's not clear that at this point he realized the whole nation was watching him. People were saying, oh my gosh, a governor who dares to say what we're thinking. We're a little weary of emergencies. We'd like a return to common sense life. Coolidge did, in fact, win the Massachusetts election as governor in 1919, but he also won praise from President Wilson, for example, who telegraphed congratulations.
The look on Coolidge's face standing next to Wilson.
Yeah.
No, that arsehole.
I'm standing next to Satan.
Get me the
Yeah,
hell out
seriously.
there.
Seriously. Yeah, I'm sure Calvin was probably like, did I do the right thing now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, let me address this right now.
Well, look at
Good
this.
stuff. Thank you. Good
We
stuff.
Where you been?
parkours. We want
Love you.
parkours. Parkours is the best. Everyone agrees. You'll love them. Everybody loves them. The opinions expressed by Mr. Good Stuff are not necessarily the opinions of this program.
Yes.
So
That was a very corporate response.
We need
yeah.
We need both of them in the chat. Where's
I
Mrs.
know.
Stuff? Come on now.
Lots of wackiness and
well,
food.
anyway,
Get them both in here.
the best derailers in the business. They're really good. They're really good at it.
Well,
Anyway,
we love them. I love them.
so people were always a bit loony, glad to see nothing changes, no matter the age. Right. Well,
Oh, yeah.
so essentially, he basically he made a decision that wasn't based on politics because he was basically cutting his throat by making this choice. And how many politicians have you seen that was like, okay, I'm going to tick off my biggest support base by doing this, but because it's the right thing to do, and we can't leave Boston without a police force, because they decided to basically leverage people's safety to get for a pay raise, and so
he did what was necessary.
Yeah.
And what was necessary for the safety and protection of the general public. And he needed to do it. Yeah.
Well,
he had no alternative,
Yeah.
And he made a very good point.
Well,
he fired them all.
Yeah.
And rehired other people, brought in the National Guard to help police the city, until they got the police force back where it needed to be.
Yeah.
Well, he proved that leadership is not necessarily doing the popular thing, but doing the right thing.
Right.
Such as sending the National Guard or the Marines to L.A.
Yep.
Yeah, that's never happened.
Never happened.
Yeah. I'm just giving a vague example here.
A vague example of something that's totally never happened recently at all.
No, for instance, it's just for instance. Anyway, so what that did was that put him on the map nationwide, and kind of like DeSantis. Some of the choices that DeSantis had made in Florida have kind of moved him into the national conversation, and that happens. Sometimes if a governor makes a good choice, a good decision like that, it definitely moves them up the ladder. Or
a bad governor makes a bad decision and it really moves them at the bottom of the infamous list.
Well, unless you're Democrat, evidently that makes you it makes you like a candidate for them. Just saying.
Yeah, they always want to pick the lowest common denominator.
The Democrat ones seem to fail upwards for some reason. Yeah,
exactly. Imagine that. How the hell does that work?
I don't know. But they fail upwards.
I don't know. Just an observation. Anyway.
Yeah.
So all right. So what happened was he got onto the ticket with James Harding, and who was the 29th president, and because of the backlash against Woodrow Wilson, the Republicans had a really strong, shift, and they basically controlled both houses, and the House and the Senate, and so he got in on the ticket with Harding, and he became. And I think Harding basically thought that Coolidge was going to be somebody that he could control, because Coolidge was kind of low key, and Harding was very blusterous and very bombastic, and so
he was a criminal.
Yeah, he thought he was going to be his Mike
Harding
Kent,
was
basically.
Harding was a criminal.
Yeah. Well, I have a clip. Let me play this clip. Speaking of.
No doubt it was the police strike of Boston that brought me into national prominence. The country had little interest in mere destructive criticism. It wanted the progress that alone comes from constructive policies.
So how do opponents challenge an incumbent? By differentiating themselves. In the 1920 election, Republicans came across as the anti-crisis party. So Calvin Coolidge was seen as standing stalwartly for law and order, for what was best in America. Warren Harding was seen as a genial man who had a real understanding of what made America great before the war and the crisis that followed the war. Their motto was a return to normalcy, and that hit a chord with the American people.
Normalcy meant an environment where a citizen or a business, a garage owner, say, could create a job for a veteran. When life got better, the divisions and anger would melt.
The individual planks of the Harding-Coolidge platform were absolutely key. It was what they stood for, what the party stood for. Key to these promises were paying down the federal debt so America wouldn't lose its position as the new economic world leader. Reduce taxes to help individuals and businesses, to get rid of the assets the government had accumulated during the war, like oil reserves. Why not sell them back to the private sector, where they belonged? Creating a budget bureau to end the anarchy in the budget process, so you could get control of spending on the federal level. In this election, voters weren't just voting for candidates, Warren Harding and Calvin Coolidge. They're voting for normalcy, getting America back on track again. A normalcy won in a landslide. Harding told friends he wanted an outstanding cabinet, and he did appoint many outstanding members. The most prominent was Andrew Mellon. He was the greatest industrialist of his time. He ran railroads. He ran oil companies. Harding wanted him in the cabinet, and he made him Treasury Secretary.
There was no official residence for the vice president in those days, so the Coolidges moved into the Willard Hotel in downtown Washington. The city didn't know what to make of this quiet vice president.
So there is a story. It was Vice President Coolidge. He had to go to dinner parties as part of his obligations. And he was once seated next to a woman who told him she had a bet with someone that she could get him to say more than 2 words during the dinner. And his response was, "You lose."
The Willard Hotel was no place for boys or pets. The Coolidges found they had to pack their children off to boarding school at Mercersburg Academy in Pennsylvania. They were a bit lonely. One day, Mrs. Coolidge saw a mouse come out of the wall in her hotel room. She fed it a few crumbs. The mouse became her pet.
Harding managed to honor several key promises. One, he got through a tax cut. Another was he created that budget bureau to create order where there'd been anarchy before. Chief problem with Harding was a lack of discipline. It was the beginning of the era of Prohibition. Yet the President of the United States had drinking parties in the White House. That, of course, undermined respect for the law and also undermined respect for the individual president, Warren Harding. The economy was beginning to find its footings, just as Harding and Coolidge said it would, but there were problems. While there were outstanding members in the cabinet, like the Secretary of State and the Treasury Secretary Andrew Mellon, several other members were engaged in corruption. For example, they sold oil rights in a place called Teapot Dome to their friends, not to the highest bidder. So the anti-crisis party had a crisis of its own. And Vice President Coolidge was sitting there taking it all in.
Oh, yeah. The frickin' Warren Harding, his whole cabinet was, they call them the Ohio Gang or something like that, because they're pretty much all from Ohio. And, a lot of...
Andrew Mellon was pretty much the only like, legitimate person that was, like, trying to look out for the best interests of America.
Absolutely.
And he had that awesome mustache. Perfect mustache.
Hey, Time Prophet's in the chat. Hey,
well, hello.
Good to see you.
Yay. Anyway, so here we have That's a great story. It just sums up Coolidge so well. Lady's like, I have a bet that I can get you to say more than 2 words, and he's like, you lose.
That's the best. That's the best.
And the rest of that story, though, was that he didn't talk for the rest of the night to anybody.
Yep.
I mean,
right.
That's the kind of like determination this man had.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even his bet, but he wanted to make sure she lost. You know,
exactly. That's funny.
Funny. Man, sorry to hear that.
I'm Prophet. Get well, my friend.
Yeah, get well, man.
Get well.
So, yeah, it's just been it's like story after story after story about that. And then, but Harding, his health was failing, and so he decides to do a West Coast trip, where California and all that to try to get where it's all nice and sunny, and because Washington, they pretty much didn't have any air conditioning, and Washington's a swamp, and so during the summer months, everybody left Washington.
Yeah,
and
that's when senators and representatives were all part-time.
Yeah.
Half the year they didn't work because it was so inhospitable that
Right. Well, I mean, they didn't stay forever either,
exactly.
But anyway, so he goes home to Vermont to Plymouth Notch and with his family, and suddenly he gets a knock on the door in the middle of the night. And they basically tell him, well, Harding just died, and you're president now.
You're president now.
And
oh, goody.
Yeah. And so the first thing he did was he prayed, because he's a Congregationalist. And so that's pretty much a good choice to make to me, as a Christian.
Bunny, real quick, was he in any way, shape, or form a pastor or anything like that?
No, he wasn't. He was just I think he was a deacon in a church at one point, but he was never like a pastor or anything
because, like that. Side note, in my former job as a custom picture framer, I actually framed some memorabilia pieces from Calvin Coolidge's days in the White House, which wasn't called the White House. And one of them was a small little songbook, from a church songbook. Was one of the. It was like it's like a little notepad, but it was like all printed and stuff, and something that he had with him in the White House or in the in the president's office. So anyway. Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Well, I've had pasta, but never in a church. Yeah, no problem. Well, but he probably had that as kind of like a part of his his spiritual life. He probably had a Bible, and he probably had a hymn book. That's back when hymns were written like theologically correct, and they weren't these vapid praise songs. No.
Yes.
Yeah. But so he had his father swear him in as president because his father was a notary republic. And so he sent a cable to Washington and said, make no decisions until I get there. And because he was afraid that Harding's little corrupt gang was probably going to raise the he's probably going to raise the place. And so
they'll loot the place.
So he tried to make sure that no massive decisions were made until he was there.
Right.
But then when he got there, the federal government's like, your father is a state functionary. We kind of need a federal thing. So so he was sworn in officially in the federal capacity. But he only had a year and a half left of Harding's term.
Right.
And everybody's like, he ain't going to be able to do anything in a year and a half to change anything.
Yeah.
But pretty much pretty much the first from the first day, he kicked out everybody but Mellon.
Yeah,
and started from scratch with.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he cleaned house. Everybody, all of Hardin's friends went bye-bye, and he kept Mellon. And he pretty much the first thing he did was try to get a lower tax rate for businesses. He was aiming for 25%, but he couldn't quite get that. But that's what he was aiming for. And he also made a lot of other choices that just like immediately made a difference in everybody's everyday walking around life. And and because of that, he rose to like popularity extremely quickly. Now, this is really interesting. Radio and electricity in houses all came in around this time. And because he had no trust of the press, he started doing radio. He did like twice a week press conferences, but then he did radio, like fireside chats. That FDR stole that idea later, because he wanted people to know why he was doing all the things he was doing. Because what would happen was he would cut something, and then the press and the opposing party would run to the papers and start like decrying that he was like putting widows and orphans out on the street or doing stuff like that.
The usual stuff.
Yeah.
The usual. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the first one to use media like that, man, the medium of radio. Yeah.
Yeah. He went straight to the people. He went and radio was still a new medium at the time. But suddenly they had like their president was in their house through this box.
Yeah.
Telling them, okay, this is what's going on in your government. This is what we're doing right now. This is the reason why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And that was extraordinarily popular with the people. And so it's a lot like what Trump did with social media.
Yeah.
And with
and
with all the rallies and things like that going
There's
around.
that name again.
There's that name again.
Yeah. The name again.
But it's also Reagan. Those three seem to be interlocked together because Reagan did the same thing. Reagan basically every time there was a camera anywhere near Reagan, he was over there giving a sound bite.
Well, then he'd have he'd have a speech from the Oval Office like very often.
Oh yeah,
a couple times a month. In some cases.
Yep. The only other president that was that transparent was Nixon. And Nixon, people like to decry Nixon, but Nixon was extraordinarily popular.
Yeah,
and,
he was.
Nixon did a lot of straight to the public. Go ahead.
He was even on a very popular TV show, Laugh-In.
Yeah.
And that kind of like set him apart from everybody else. I think that was about the time he was going to get reelected.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
A soundbite came on. He got a sound. He actually was asked to say the tagline from their show, and the tagline was "Sock it to me," But then he read it back as "Sock it to me," like
yeah.
Go back and watch. It's like. But
he won re-election in the landslide.
Yeah, he did.
So he's a very popular president. And by the way, Watergate has been proven to be a CIA operation. And
really, I didn't know that.
It's come out recently.
Come
out recently. So.
Imagine that.
Another three-letter agency thing again.
Yeah, another one. Andrew Jackson was also one of the few presidents I was impressed by, but mostly for the lore. Old Hickory was tough. I mean,
he was tough.
He would actually beat up anybody that tried to assassinate him. He would basically beat him down.
He did. He did.
So,
He beat
is that the best you
Hickory
can
was
see?
a dog.
Yeah. But he was
Horrible
a bastard,
president.
Yeah, he was a bastard.
Horrible president, but he was a man. He was a man.
He was probably
founded
a better
the Democrat
general.
Party.
Yeah, probably a better general than he was a freaking president. But he was a bastard, and he facilitated a lot of shit under his presidency and his orders regarding the Native
Trail
Americans.
of Tears.
Yep.
Anybody hear of Trail of
And
Tears?
I had ancestors on that. Yep.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah. So he was a bastard.
Well,
but he beat up an assassin. So okay.
Yeah, there you go.
He's like,
There
come
you go.
on, dunk.
Beat him with his cane. Beat him down with his cane.
Yeah, he did.
Within an inch of his life. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he was pretty bad. He was pretty awesome.
You could just see it like Tony Montana. You need an army to take me.
Yeah.
Come on.
Say
Say hello to my little friend.
friend.
Anyway. Well, Calvin had a lot of great ideas, especially when it came to smaller government, and he's been accused of like inactivity. They said that his critics have said that he didn't really do anything. And what they mean by that is that he didn't start any projects. He didn't start any he didn't start any federal organizations. He didn't like change the government. What he did was he did a lot of cutting of the government.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of getting rid of unnecessary, what he felt like was unnecessary expenses. He did a lot of tax cuts and things like that. And so a lot of people consider that inactive. You know, well, what did he do? You know,
that's still technically change.
Well, he sent a telegraph to his father, and he said that I have found in government that it is far better to end a bad law than to create a new one.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And so
we got a lot of bad laws.
Doge anybody?
Yeah, we got a
lot.
But yeah. Well, the term pocket veto, the term pocket veto was, I think, started in his presidency, because what a pocket veto is they'd send a bill that everybody passed, and he's either going to veto it or sign it. He doesn't do shit. He just sticks it in his pocket and forgets about it. Well, there's a time frame he has to get it signed by and sent back. And if it expires, they got to go back through the whole thing again.
Whoopsie.
So, yeah, he would do that a lot to stuff that was bad.
Solid Cow did a lot of stuff passive aggressively.
Yeah, he did.
He wasn't like a guy to take things head on. He kind of like, he kind of like let things happen around him, basically. And that was his style. That was just his style. What it created, though, was something called
he did make some mistakes. I mean, I think one glaring one was when it came to there was a natural disaster that happened in, I think, 1927, and he didn't do anything. He didn't help them or anything like that, and that was kind of a mistake, I think, on his part.
Which one was it?
It was a flood, and I forget where it was at. It pretty much just wiped out the whole town and the residents and everything. And people were asking for some kind of help or assistance. And he said that the town should provide their own assistance. I'm just paraphrasing, but pretty much that's kind of how he said it. But it goes back to his philosophy of getting government out of people's lives. The government doesn't need to be in everything that you do. And so he was kind of going on that philosophy. But I think with that quote unquote a natural disaster is kind of a different situation and should be.
Yeah.
But I think that was a mistake on his part, and that did leave a bad taste in some people's mouths too. At that time.
Well, he also vetoed a bonus to returning veterans. That he kept the things like he kept their hospital care and he kept some other things that was going to benefit them, but he vetoed the bonus that they were going to give them out. But you know, the Congress like overrode his veto, but you know, he just basically was like proving a point that he wasn't going to do things for political gain.
Well, I don't know that Congress overrode the veto in time, because there was a quote unquote riot or protest of World War I veterans who basically camped out in Washington, D.C. for months. And it's not just the veterans, it was their wives and children. There was a whole bunch of people, thousands, probably tens of thousands of U.S. veterans who were there protesting because they were promised a bonus for going overseas and getting legs shot off and dying and all this other crap. They didn't get it. And so they were protesting, not necessarily having a riot, but they were protesting. But I don't know if it was actually under him or under Hoover or who. Maybe it was under Harding, but they sent in the army under the command of George Patton, who I think was a major at that time, and they started shooting them. The U.S. Army started shooting people, and a lot of people died because of it. But you know, maybe they.
Do you remember when this was?
It was in the 1920s. That's what I'm saying. It may not have been under Coolidge. It may have been under Hoover. I mean, not Hoover, Harding. But it's probably one of those things that Woodrow Wilson friggin' promised. Because World War I was what, from 1914 or 1915 to 1918 or something like that, I think.
Well, I mean, I didn't see that in my research. I know about that story. It's the Great Mississippi Flood of 1927.
Yeah, Mississippi. Okay.
But
the other thing probably happened under Harding, and not Coolidge.
Well, yeah, he was criticized for his actions during the Mississippi Flood in 1927, worst natural disaster to hit Gulf Coast until Hurricane Katrina. But he did visit the region after the floods. No, he didn't visit it because he said it thought it'd be political grandstanding. And he believed that property owners should bear most of the cost. And the Congress wanted a bill, and the bill would place the federal government completely in charge. And then when Congress passed the compromise in 1928, he declined to take credit for it and signed the bill in private. So,
okay, what I was just describing to you that happened, the protest, that actually happened in 1932.
Okay.
So it wasn't Wilson, it wasn't Harding, it wasn't Coolidge, it was that other bastard Hoover.
Yeah.
So it's called the bonus. Okay. It's called the bonus army. Yeah. So, and they.
Well, I was. So. Anyway. Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see that come up in my research.
That's because it didn't happen at that time.
I thought that would definitely. That definitely
I thought
would
it was
have.
Earlier. Yeah. I thought it was earlier, like under Harding, but no, it was under Hoover in 32. So.
Okay. All right, no problem. Check that comment for me.
Wasn't the flood from a burst?
No, it was evidently a flooding that caused the Mississippi to override the banks. Okay, there's another. Is that it? Oh, okay, that's the last one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one of the things though that happened during his tenure is called the Roaring Twenties.
Oh yeah.
Let me play that right quick.
While anything that relates to the functions of government is of enormous interest to me, its economic relations have always had a peculiar fascination for me.
What Coolidge meant by a constructive economy was cutting the budget bit by bit, which added up over time. The same went for taxes. He paired the two, budget cuts and tax cuts, and he delivered on both. Not only at the beginning of his presidency, but 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in, the budget was cut. What do? They go back at the tax fight again, even though it was a bruising one. This time, Coolidge and Mellon had more success. They did get that top rate down to their target of 25%, but they also cut other taxes, including excise taxes. It was one of the best tax cut bills in American history. Coolidge's determination was evident even in the names of White House pets. A mayor had given the president 2 twin lion cubs. What did he name them? With a little bit of humor: Budget Bureau and Tax Reduction. Opponents warned that the tax cut rates would mean that the rich would pay less taxes. Actually, the opposite proved true. The rich ended up paying more. People could see that the normalcy bet was paying off.
There is a general feeling of prosperity in the 1920s. And you have the material lives of many Americans changing radically.
In the 20s, electricity became a commonplace. Telephones became a commonplace. Indoor plumbing became more and more common. Movie theaters proliferated. With the rise of the automobile, you saw the greatest road building program since the days of the Roman Empire. You saw labor-saving devices, whether it was electric iron, refrigerators, stoves, and the like. And one of the greatest inventions of all, the washing machine, along with the amendment enabling women to vote, gave women more freedom, more possibilities to do things.
The sale of radios increased by more than 1,000%. And Americans are also spending money on recreational pursuits, whether it's going to movies or sporting events, or maybe traveling with their families. It really epitomizes the 1920s decade and Coolidge. That yes, in one regard was backward looking to what it had been, on the other hand was forward looking in terms of a more modern type of America. Particularly in terms of, for example, celebrating Charles Lindbergh with his solo flight across the Atlantic, where he brings Lindbergh afterwards to the White House.
I hereby present, in the name of the Congress, a Medal of Honor to Colonel Charles A. Lindbergh.
I think he saw things like that as an inspiration, that even in a modest way we could improve our lives if we could do something as astounding at that time as fly at high speeds across the world.
On a national tour, one of the places Lindbergh flew over was Plymouth Notch. Lindbergh dropped down a paper message for the village, "To the city of Plymouth." Well, that was gratifying. Little, lonely, remote Plymouth was finally connected to the world.
Little Plymouth.
Yep.
That was our downfall. You know what's funny? Is so you've got the Roaring Twenties. Buddy, you remember how the 80s were, right? The 80s,
I remember that.
we were coming out of the frickin' energy crisis, the gasoline stuff in the late 70s. A lot of the economy was crap. Regan came along, 81, 80, 81, and by 83, 84, you've got like things just blowing up.
Right. Right.
And you had businesses coming into, business coming out, new trends coming out, new, instead of having 3 channels on TV, then you were getting all of a sudden the expansion of cable, and HBO came out of nowhere. People got to see movies they couldn't go to the theaters to see. You have a lot of technology was expanding because of the economy coming about. Yeah, there was some things that happened that were kind of a negative, like steel industry started taking a nosedive in the United States, but that had to do with treaties that were signed by Carter in the 70s. But
Yeah.
you know, all in all, the 80s and the 90s were boom, big time boom for everything, industry, jobs, technology, especially technology took off. I mean, who remembers the freaking Apple commercial, the 1984, because it came out in 1984. You know.
Well, you know, getting back to Coolidge, there's like a significant event that happened right before his reelection attempt. His son, Junior, Calvin Coolidge Jr., was on the tennis court, and he had a blood blister come up on his toe, and it developed sepsis, and he was gone like within a week of blood poisoning. And
they didn't have
just a crazy, just a crazy thing. And also 2 years later, he lost his father. Who's, you know, he lost his mother young, but he lost his father, and his father was very important to him. He basically, the only way he could talk to his father was over the phone for the last few months of his life, and he was heard to have said that but being a president has a high cost to it. And so a lot of people, you know, back then you could, as long as you felt like you could run, they would let you run for as many terms as you wanted.
Yeah.
Which is how Woodrow Wilson, you know, lasted 3 terms. It's how FDR got 4 terms, even though he's a cripple. You know, and didn't even, who knows who was the president that 4th term. He was not non-compos mentis. Funny how that keeps happening with the Democrat Party. Anyway, so a lot of people think that that's why he chose to not run for a next term. But one of the things he did, he actually announced this from South Dakota, because he was approving of a monument there, which was
Rushmore,
which is Rushmore, Mount Rushmore. Most people don't know this. I mean, tell you how underrated Calvin Coolidge is now. Back then, people wanted to put him up there with the ones that were up there, and he vetoed it. But they that's how popular he was. They wanted to put him up there with them, and he vetoed it. He's like, absolutely not. There's no way my plain simple face is going to be up there with those, you know, those handsome men like that. So, but that's pretty much sums him up. And the funny way he announced it, he was given like he was staying in South Dakota for the summer, and he's using a schoolhouse for his White House, basically his summer White House. And he gave his usual press conference, and then he had them hand out this slip of paper to all the press as they left. And when the press looked at the slip of paper, it's like, I choose not to run in 28.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's.
Yep.
So that was just like a choice he made.
Yep.
But one of the things that you'll find Democrats and Republicans that praise him, and one of the reasons why is he was like, you know, you had Woodrow Wilson, who was like doing the KKK, you know, movie Founding of a Nation, in the freaking house.
Yep.
And just 2 years later, you had this guy, Calvin Coolidge, who pushed a bill through to make Indians citizens of the United States.
Yeah.
He also expanded, Woodrow Wilson was like basically kicking any minority out of his government. Calvin Coolidge is expanding their ability to be part of the government.
Yeah.
And
diversity and inclusion.
Yes. No, not diversity and inclusion. No.
Just inclusion.
Not this. Not CRT.
Just
we're talking
actually,
we're talking about human
equal-
dignity. We're talking about human dignity.
Equal
here.
opportunity to work.
Yeah.
To work.
They still had to earn it, but it gave them the opportunity, which is way more than
of race.
Yep. So he did that. He also founded the SBUs, or what do they call them? The traditional black universities or something like that. The something black universities.
Yeah.
He was responsible for he was responsible for them to getting accreditation. And so he was just that's why Democrats and Republicans, even though he's a Republican, he's thought highly of by Democrats as well.
Right.
Because he was progressive in all the right ways. I have no trouble with somebody being progressive as long as they're progressive in the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Progressing towards like unity, progressing towards dignity, progressing towards, making giving people equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. Equality of opportunity.
Exactly. Yep.
I'm not talking equity. I'm talking equality.
Yes.
And so he was very instrumental in that, and so he did have some negative things. He didn't significantly help the farmers.
No,
so that he gets.
Go
ahead.
No, I was going to say that was kind of a negative on his part too.
Yeah.
So
that was that's definitely a negative. But he believed in people pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. He believed in like giving people he didn't believe in like doing things for people. He believed or like giving handouts or anything like that. He believed people had to earn their way, and so in a lot of ways that kind of philosophy was seen as being uncaring.
Because he didn't want his philosophy of less government intruding into your life and your daily life versus the type of government that we've had now recently, where the Farm Bureau tells the farmers what they can plant, when they can plant it, because they're pretty much wards of the state when it comes to funding. I mean, the whole reason why we had the egg situation last year was because the Farm Bureau told the chicken ranchers to cull 100 million chickens because of no evidence of bird flu. None. Zero.
Well,
but they had to do
let's get back before we go off on that tangent.
Was that dramatic enough? Was that dramatic enough? Okay.
Anyway, because I can hear you winding up, so we're kind of moving up to the end here.
I know. I need to maintain low tone.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But this was his life philosophy. He said, "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." And so that was his philosophy.
Educated derelicts.
So
how appropriate that is. Oh my
Educated
God.
idiots.
And for that quote alone, the man deserves respect. Definitely.
He does.
Anyway, let me get these quotes and we'll start checking our votes here.
Educated idiots.
Right.
That's what it means.
That is clucking crazy. Yeah, there you go. Professor Coop. Well, this show I am. I'll never have a degree, but it is what it is. So similar, yeah. Well, so basically, I think that you could probably say honestly that Calvin Coolidge is probably the precursor to both Reagan and Trump, and to a certain extent, I think Nixon had a lot of elements. I'd say that JFK probably had a lot of Calvin Coolidge in him. When it came to his views on civil rights, he was very similar to Calvin Coolidge on that. Not voting, too ill to vote. Oh, hang in there, Time Prophet. Hey guys, long time no parkour. Hey, Miss Good Stuff.
Hey!
There she is. There she is.
There she is.
So, all right. We're gonna go ahead and check our polls and the chats. Let me check mine.
Oh
see
yeah.
what I got.
I think I have a record here.
Okay.
I have a record.
All right. I've got 3 votes. I've got 67% in the middle, and 33 debunked. So that's 2 votes for in the middle and a 3rd vote for debunked. And I'm ending my poll now. That's surprising. That's a bit surprising, to be honest.
Your question was, is he the most underrated president in the poll, I assume?
Yep.
Yeah. So I have people that are kind of undecided on that, and then I had one that was debunked. So I'm a little surprised on that. I wonder who they think is more underrated. If you're still there, whoever voted debunked, could you tell me who you think is more underrated? Go ahead and put that in the chat. Yeah, drop it in the comments. I definitely want to know who you think that.
Well,
and
I have a big, huge goose egg. There's
Nobody?
votes in mine. Nobody. Nada. 0.
Wow.
This time.
Okay.
Well,
it was well. I mean, you're on 2 locations. Did you get the right location?
Oh yeah, I got the main one. I never put a poll in the other one.
Oh, okay. All right. No problem.
Yeah, because there's nobody watching the other one.
All right.
Dude.
Well, it was a test. We were just checking
suppressed.
it out.
I'm getting suppressed.
Yeah.
You're getting depressed?
Yes.
Shoot, I was afraid to answer. I thought you meant Calvin
Depressed
Klein.
and yeah.
No, Calvin Coolidge. There you go. I'm not going to speculate about Calvin Coolidge's underwear.
Calvin and Hobbes? What?
I'm a parkour. You're a parkour. Wouldn't you like to be a parkour? Be a parkour.
Yeah. Wouldn't you like to be a parkour too?
No, absolutely not. Anyway, so I've got to say that I think he was underrated. So I'm gonna vote for confirmed.
Yep.
I think he's the most underrated. I can't think of anybody else that's more underrated than him. When you consider the scope of what he accomplished and the fact that no school child today can tell you even who he was, probably.
Except the guy that lasted for what, a month? That one president
William McKinley.
that died. McKinley,
I think
30 days after the.
No, it's Benjamin Harrison. No, it's Benjamin Harrison.
Harrison. Yeah.
It was Benjamin Harrison. Yeah.
He died 30 days after the inauguration of freaking.
Well, he got a cold from outside for his inauguration. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like really cold. British only ever knew Reagan. Okay. Well, it's okay. So that seems to be two for confirmed, 2 for in the middle, and 1 for debunked. So what do you think, Cruel?
Well, yeah, I think he seems to be one of the most underrated presidents. It seems to be the kind of president that one needs and could do with now. And maybe you're getting something similar now. I just wish we were.
Yeah.
So you'd prefer a Calvin Coolidge
guys.
over a Keir Starmer? Really?
It's a shocking thing to say, but maybe.
Maybe.
Uh-oh.
It probably
The
wouldn't
door
hurt.
gets kicked down. The door gets kicked down. It gets thrown away.
Nino.
Excuse me. Exactly. Right. Here they come at midnight. Did you say this online?
Yeah. They'll be swinging in the windows.
Yep.
The SWAT team.
Oh my God.
All right. Regan was on Spitting Image every week as a rubber puppet. Okay.
Oh,
yeah. I remember that show.
That was so good, that show.
The rubber. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The
we call it
puppet.
DC something or other over here. I
That
remember
was so good.
Anyway,
The floppy ears.
so okay, for anybody who wants to vote that didn't vote in the poll that we just closed, anybody wants to give any kind of put their vote in the chat, we'll give you 5 seconds to do so. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't see any other comments.
Nope, no
I
comments.
don't see any other comments. So
5, 4, 3, 2,
Probably
1.
all left.
So okay, so we are going to
We got 47 people watching us right now.
Yeah.
I think the vast majority of them are on X.
Probably.
Yeah, well, you can actually chat on X now.
Yeah,
I'm going to see if I can do a poll.
I left you comments there the other night.
Yeah,
I was on
yeah,
X,
and I saw it on StreamYard, so you can chat on X now. All righty. Well, it looks like we do have a conclusion here. Mrs. Good Stuff has given it a confirmed. So we are solidly confirmed now.
Lovely jubbly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Lovely jubbly.
Okay. Hold on a second. What language is that? Anyway.
Yay!
Well, for some reason my StreamYards is frozen.
Oh
Give me
no!
1 second here.
It's starting to act up again. Cruel and I were talking about that backstage.
Yeah, sometimes you need to give
Yeah.
it a good slap.
Yeah, exactly. Give it a good whack.
All right. Well, is it gonna let me play the thing?
You know the thing.
Come on.
The thing. Yeah.
You know the thing.
The thing.
Well, it keeps like just blowing me back. Oh, here we go. All right, got it. Hold on.
Well, StreamYards, you're lucky because I was waiting to roll up my sleeves.
Give him a good smack. Oh yeah.
Anyway, about to have an angry Scotsman all over you, StreamYard. Straighten up. Anyway, so thank you all for coming tonight. All 47 at the peak. Please like and subscribe to whatever channel you're a part of right now.
Absolutely.
Do it
if you're on X, if you're on X, feel free to subscribe to any one of our accounts. Anyway, thank you guys for coming. Thank you for a great show this week. And we will see you guys next time. Hopefully Abby will be back.
Won't be here. Yeah, he'll be in town. Yeah, he should be back.
I can't believe he chose his father over our show.
Who does
what
that?
in the world, man?
Well,
I mean, seriously.
Priorities, apparently. Priorities. Yep.
Just kidding.
Yep.
He's got his priorities straight.
Well,
He's got his priorities
happy
straight.
Father's Day to all the fathers out there. So
absolutely. Alive and departed.
Yes.
So
both.
we'll say that.
Both.
Anyway, thank you guys for coming. We will see you next week. Anybody have a topic for next week you want to cover?
I just show up for these things. I'm supposed to think now.
That's it.
Never mind. We'll know when we get there.
Thinking, well, wait. So we got an X post. Someone from X posted.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Good night, Creator.
Good night.
Night, man. All right.
Have a great night, everybody, and God bless. Yep.
Thank you, Wrangler. All right. Night, everybody. Have a good
night,
one.
everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
See you all later. Bye bye.